Everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Jason. I'm the founder and CEO behind Bars Blueprint. It's an organization that's designed to help individuals and their families navigate the incarceration process from beginning to end and even beyond. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit more personal, something that quite honestly hits home for me quite a bit, and that's some health issues and how that relates to incarceration and how we approach all those type of things in life, those unexpected things that come up when we least expect it. There's never a good time, never a convenient time, but regardless, we need to be able to figure out how to pivot and adjust when life throws us a curveball. So let's get started. So I don't usually talk about stuff like this. This channel, as a lot of you know, it's intended to provide helpful information, useful resources, context, things like that as far as the incarceration process and how you or a loved one that is going through the incarceration process can ultimately succeed and even thrive through the process. But today is, like I said, something a little bit different. I don't normally discuss things like this. I usually stay in my lane, discipline, accountability, that type of stuff. But today I'm going to talk about some things that have forced me to take a different look at how I'm approaching not only Behind Bars Blueprint, but my personal life as well. And we're going to start with some health issues. Now, I'm what I would consider pretty fit for a 51-year-old. I've worked out most of my life. I've trained in boxing and jiu-jitsu for a long time. And I've seen the health benefits of that. But as time's gone on, I've also noticed that, the things that accompany getting older, have slowly started to find me, right? And I make sure that I get a regular blood panel every 4 months. And I think that's important. I think everybody should do that. And again, this video today is not about, health advice or training advice, anything like that. This is how we're going to make the parallels between a lot of times what happens in our personal journeys across the board, and whether that's health issues, whether that's incarceration, the loss of a loved one, anything like that. There's a right way to approach things and a wrong way to approach things, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So over about the past year or so, I keep track of my vitals. I try to make sure I stay on top of things. I wear an Oura ring. You can use an Apple Watch, anything like that. And again, this is not an advice video. This is not a how-to video, but I would encourage individuals, regardless of your age, to get some type of trusted, proven, again, they're not all perfect, but some type of monitoring device where you can monitor your vitals, your average heartbeat, even your VO2, things like that, even how you're sleeping at night. And that's huge. Sleep is massively underrated. It needs to be something that is prioritized. Dan Martell does a good job. He talks about, and I've done this ever since college. Because it worked for me, it wasn't because I really knew anything. But I set a bedtime. I have a wake up time, but I prioritize my bedtime. And, I go to bed about 9:30 every night. Now, obviously there's those times where you can't do that. You get a phone call and somebody's just been released and they need help going somewhere or moving somewhere or finding a place to stay. But you have to prioritize your health. And for me, I started noticing that my blood pressure was going up. And that's something, it could be the stress of, what I do, the people that I come in contact with. And it's not so much the people themselves. That's not what I'm saying. I'm basically saying it's one of those, the situation as a whole. Sometimes you can just get frustrated. Things aren't moving the way you want them to, or someone, that was doing really well, suddenly you get word that they're back in jail, something like that. But found out that my blood pressure and my hematocrit were elevated, and not to a dangerous point, but heading that direction. And so I started keeping track of it and noticed that it just wasn't changing. And didn't matter what I did. I changed my exercise. I started changing my diet, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I finally stuck to a diet that I've tried out, and it's really nothing fancy. It's nothing top secret, anything like that. It's just something pretty straightforward. But I've started seeing some improvements along the way. But that was a reality check for me. That was something that made me wake up. I had to stop. And a lot of times, if you don't prioritize your health, your body will force you to. Which brings me to my first main point, and that is a lot of times we, as people, we will not prioritize priorities until they become a priority. terrible way to approach things. When, again, whether you're talking about a lifestyle, a health issue, criminal behavior, whatever the case may be, we don't do it, we don't do it when it's convenient, because it's never going to be convenient. And I see the same thing with incarceration. A lot of times people don't change until they're absolutely forced to. And unfortunately, incarceration is even worse. A lot of times people won't change even when they're being forced to. They'll bide their time. They'll say the right things at the right times to the right people. But deep down they know, and a lot of times other people do too, this isn't real. You're not really exhibiting the change or internalizing the change that you truly need to make in order to improve your circumstances and how things are going. And that's why Behind Bars Blueprint exists. That's why the parallels can be drawn. It's this, structure is what matters, and it's what matters the most. That's why, I don't call B3 a program. It's not a program. We've got so many programs out there. It's a system. And that's where I think James Clear was the one that talked about it in his book, where he says, it's people that have goals end. Systems don't. That's why people that have systems are continually successful, because systems don't end. You put a system in place and the system runs. A goal, once you achieve it, it's over, it ends. And so at the end of the day, I talk about discipline all the time. I try to model it for participants. I try to model it for myself. I try to model it for my family, my kids. But now it's time for me to live it, right? This is one of those things where, you can't fake it. This isn't where, the numbers aren't going to lie. It's either you're eating correctly and you are exercising properly and you are taking the necessary steps to make sure that you are attending to the issues at hand, or you're not. And, I used to be a personal trainer, and I would always tell people, you get guys that would talk about, oh, I can put up this and I can put up that. And I would tell people, well, the numbers don't lie. If that's the case, sooner or later, you're going to have to lay down on that bench and you're going to have to bench press what you say you can bench press. And that's where we don't want to find ourselves. We don't want to just be all smoke and mirrors. We want to walk the talk and talk the walk, right? So that's where this particular personal journey for me ties into what I try to do on a daily basis with helping people that have been impacted by incarceration. Yes, it's about discipline, but it's also about being real. And, if I'm going to preach it and teach it, I better live it. And that's what, again, Behind Bars Blueprint does. It tries to bring these concepts to light in a way that you can apply on a daily basis. It's not difficult. It's not possible. And, impossible. It's just consistency over time compounds into good and positive things. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this is something that you guys can take to heart and start applying. You can find more information out on my website at www.behindbarsblueprint.com. You can email me at behindbarsblueprint@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can leave comments in this video. I'd really appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Obviously, it helps the channel, all those good things. And again, we are trying to reach as many people as we can. That may be you, and we're trying to make as big of an impact, because a lot of times people just don't know what the next step is. What do I do? This may be your first time. It may be your 10th time. It doesn't matter. There's always something to learn, and that's what Behind Bars Blueprint brings to you, brings to your incarcerated loved one, in an attempt to help and to stop that cycle. Guys, keep the faith, stay strong, do the things that you're supposed to do, stay positive. We'll see you on the next video.